Ladies and gentlemen of the press, I'd like to welcome you all to this press conference by SUSO initiative. We've decided to call this national press conference in order to address the national emergency that faces our nation, Nigeria. You've seen the online chatter and the general attention that has been on for the past few weeks, and it's as a result of the untold suffering that people are going through right now. Citizens are heavily challenged by the situation that has put them in a place where it is even difficult for people to feed and to be able to make ends meet. All those stem from the reforms that the current administration has embarked on in its quest to address the financial situation of the country. So as a result, some of those policies have not yielded the fruits that was desired by the administration, and people also are unable to see the results of those policies in terms of making their lives better. There have been arguments on both sides of the divide, and as an organization, the Citizenship Advocacy Group, it is our responsibility and our task to ensure that we help society to move forward, advocating for the rights of the citizens, while also trying to support the government when they do what is right. So we have decided to call for this press conference. We have a press release that we are going to be sharing with you for you to be able to publish even as you leave this place. So our organization is, as you can see behind us written, we are focused on the four cardinal goals of the SDG in eradicating poverty and hunger, educating, providing quality education and training and mentoring of youth, as well as ensuring that we help to build a just and peaceful society, and helping to strengthen institutions that are supposed to guarantee our well-being. And those are the social causes we have been involved with. From the time of COVID, just before COVID, our organization was formed in 2017, and from that time till now, we have carried out several intervention programs across our communities, from the north to the south, and from the east to the west of Nigeria. Our ranks are filled by the professionals that are focused and committed to building a virile and an egalitarian society. They work in different fields, and our doors are open to people. We engage governments and we engage the private sector. We collaborate with different groups in order to be able to help in pressing on these goals in our respective society. So this is the first of many press conferences that will be held across the country, and this is the one that we are holding from our national headquarters in SUSO today. We support the right of citizens to be able to speak to the government, to the people that govern them, and give them feedback as to how they are performing in office. Every public officer is a hired hand that volunteered that they will be able to serve the public. They run for offices making promises about how they will make the lives of the citizens better. And so as a result, it is incumbent on the people that elect and put them in those offices to hold them accountable when they get to those offices. And that is why it is very, very necessary that from time to time, citizens provide feedback to these public office holders as to how they are performing in office. I believe that also this current government, the APC government, came as a result of agitation for a better Nigeria. And in fact, the president and some of his cohorts led the movement that removed the former government as well from power because people were dissatisfied with them. And so it is constructive to expect that when things are not working very well, citizens should be able to give them feedback as to how they are performing. And that is why it is very necessary that citizens be allowed to air their views and be able to give a feedback to government. As SUSO, we support constructive engagement with government. Everybody has concern about how protests are held in Nigeria. Not only in Nigeria, maybe we have seen some recent ones across Africa that has not panned out to well in terms of the fact that apart from making their voices heard, there were a lot of destruction of properties and all kinds of things that came as a result because it was hijacked, of course, at some point by some people who had other motives. And so the concern by the government that people should not resort to going on the streets may stem from that. Having said that, it is necessary to give a feedback to government. It is part of development. And so we are encouraging and urging every Nigerian that they can lend their voice and be heard, but they should refrain from any destructive tendencies that will now compromise the goals of what we are agitating for. Every single person, we believe, both those in government and those who are governed, they want a better life, they want a better society, they want running water, they want shelter, they want good roads, they want utilities that are working, electricity that is reliable, and projects that are initiated to help the society to develop. So on some of the cardinal reasons that have been going on online recently, we see that so there are so many things that have arisen that people are canvassing all around. And as a result, some of those goals, such as saying that every Nigerian should be on from tertiary to secondary to from primary to secondary to tertiary levels, they should be on free scholarship. Those are goals that no government worldwide can guarantee. So when we put out such bogus goals, it tends to compromise what we want. And one begins to think whether it is even the true organizers that are really agitating for genuine change that are putting out those kind of information. To be taken seriously for change in society, all rights activists like ours must put out achievable goals. For example, there are discussions in different quarters that our naira has fallen. It was devalued. We heard that it is due because it was all this while the value has been held artificially, where we take our foreign reserve to be able to prop up the naira. But there are several suggestions, and as SUSO, we believe that if we continue to patronize what is made in Nigeria, it is only going to help us to be a better people. For example, most things that we use, even in our household goods, they are all most people are importing those things into this country, and it has not allowed the local industries to be able to thrive. When we have an open door policy without protection for manufactured goods in country, it leads to a situation whereby our currency is weak because we are constantly changing our money to be able to buy other people's currency in order for us to be able to bring those goods in. So if the government wants to be taken seriously, it can embark on an indigenization policy or domestication of some basic home goods and some resources that are used in their offices. For example, there's so much cry and hue about the 160 million naira car allowance that was given to lawmakers and things like that, leading to billions, and then some people are even estimating that it has run up to trillions of naira that was expended in those kind of ventures. Those are not realistic in an economy that is ailing like Nigeria's. People have advocated instead of the bicameral system of government we have now, whereby we have the two arms of the legislation, the representatives and the Senate, that it is too expensive for a country like ours because we don't have the resources to support this expensive system of government. We need to look into all those. Constitutions are written in order to guide us as a nation. It does not mean it cannot be reviewed. If you look at the US Constitution, there has been several amendments. And the reason why they have those amendments is that they found out at the time that what was intended by the founding fathers at a point was no longer serving the people. Because the Constitution in its structure says, we the people. So if it is we the people and the people are saying this Constitution is no longer serving us, the government and those we elect to represent us ought to listen and do something about changing some of those provisions of the Constitution that are no longer relevant. So we advocate that we should have a unicameral system whereby we have only one house. And we even go further to say that the house should not even be a full-time house, because when you have a governance structure, even like a company or like a board or something like that, they are supposed to devise the policy of the company and be able to give guidance and give direction, approve projects, and then they come from time to time. We don't need full-time legislators to be staying there. How many laws do they make in a year? It is very, very expensive. The country does not have the resources to afford it. All the money that is wasted in keeping these offices can be plowed towards ensuring that our schools are running better, they have facilities and resources. As SUSO, we have been mainly engaged in universities in providing public address systems, scholarship, classroom upgrades, and so on and so forth in many schools. As a result, we have made those things a little better, but these are federal institutions that ordinarily should be funded by government. Some of those classrooms have been built for years where it was intended for 500, 300 students. They are up to 3,000, 2,000 or sometimes even more students that are cramped up in these small facilities that have not been expanded to reflect the population growth. These are some of the things that are causing the heat in the polity, that you see that people are agitated, people are hungry, and a hungry man is an angry man, and that is the fear. So the government can begin to look at itself in terms of its size, its body language. It is said, it is rumored that there have been presidential jets bought and yachts bought. When things like that happen and people are aware, it tends to make people feel that the government is not listening to them. What we need now for the government is a feedback in terms of how the people are viewing them, and then they can respond by taking action to be able to cut the waste in governance. And that is one critical point that SUSO is putting forward in terms of how we can move forward as a nation. We are not just people that will come and canvass a position without helping. We have been going, like we said, to some of these institutions to intervene, to do something. Young leaders, young professionals that have come together that will not just look at Nigeria's problems, we are going to do something about it. And that's the difference. That even when we go out today, anytime we go out for our campaigns, it's constructive campaign about how to provide solutions that we identify in society. So we will recommend that the government, for example, all cars that they use in government offices, instead of these expensive cars, they can patronize made in Nigeria cars. You can imagine the impact to see a president, a governor, all of them riding made in Nigeria cars. It's going to make the whole difference about how people view this country. And those people that make these cars that we import outside the country, they will be forced to come down to Nigeria to set up shops. What does that translate to? It means more employment, transfer of technology. Some of the raw materials that are going to be supplied to these companies that are going to be making these vehicles will be made in Nigeria. That is the opportunity it offers. We need strong and determined and focused leadership that is bent on protecting the local industry and growing it. It is the only way we can get ourselves out of the situation we are in. We can't import ourselves out of the problem. We can't borrow ourselves out of this problem. I listened to a clip that is circulating online that for all leaders from MKO Abiola to Obasanjo and many of them, all leaders, Shagari, all of them were always advocating that we need to produce more in Nigeria. If all leaders have said that from time, that is the only thing we should be focused on. That is the only way to grow our GDP. That's the only way to put to work all the people that were graduating from colleges every year that we have no plan for. The government needs to take the bull by the horn to ensure that it patronizes all made in Nigeria goods in public offices from the federal to the state and the local government levels. They should insist that this is what ought to be done, and that is what a courageous leader will do. And we believe, as everybody has said, that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is a courageous man. He has a reputation to have done very well in Lagos State, and that's the pedigree by which I believe he climbed into national office. He needs to demonstrate that and show us now that he is capable of making such decisions to turn the fortunes of our country around. All toiletries, for example, chairs, tables, why are you importing tables from abroad to be used in government offices? Those are valid questions that people are asking. These are the areas that our waste can be cut away from our governance. And that is what we are saying as a country, that we can cut out all this waste. All the wages and allowance of public servants and public office holders should be reviewed. For example, we have just come out of a long, protracted debate about civil service wages, to the extent that people are saying that even the wage that is minimum wage that is paid today cannot buy a bag of rice. That's not a living wage. But Labour has graciously accepted that the government has moved forward because the government have no resources to support more than that. So if we start from there, for example, what about the lawmakers? They came to elect to be appointed to this job. They were elected. It is only the lawmakers in Nigeria that will go and set their own salaries and their allowances. If you employ somebody, you are not supposed to allow that person to come and set the salary for you in your company. They are the people's employees. So they must take it back to the Civil Service Commission to set salary so that it will not be so high. After all, it's supposed to be a voluntary work. You want to serve. If you want to serve, you must be altruistic. You must be selfless. It is not a place to go to and then you start appropriating our commonwealth to yourselves and then giving yourself jumbo things that at the end of the day that is heating up the polity and denying the many of all the resources that could spread. I don't know how people feel if you are one of those that are in positions of power, when you see people eating from the gutter and they living in squalor when you drive past them in all your cars. The Stand Up Speak Out initiative is saying we need to start reconsidering those things. Those are the things that are causing the policy. If you really want to find out, we saw as an organization, we have been circulating an online information that we saw where somebody wrote about 44 things that is organizing this protest. It's hunger, it's poverty, it's lack of access to good roads. Those are the things that are causing banditry and all these problems that we have across Nigeria. So if any government can focus on those things to start addressing those problems critically, not detached from the people, but also involved, and they can see you as an example, I dare say Nigerians are willing to trust such a leader. So this leadership should look at this planned hashtag end bad governance as a good thing, as a good feedback. And we are urging the people who want to go and protest to ensure that when they speak about these things, they should do it in such a way we do not destroy anything or destroy any institution in Nigeria. Because at the end of the day, we are so backward already that we cannot afford to destroy anything that has been built. And that is the position of SUSO. So all wages and salaries, like we said, should be done in such a way that the Civil Service Commission is able to set those limits. So that people don't just aspire to go to offices to be able to go and grab our commonwealth and make their lifestyle so high that it becomes arouses jealousy and the kind of heat we have in the policy. A few but realistic demands that, when implemented, will significantly impact the Nigerian economy positively, we believe will be, just in closing, will be, if they do all those things that we have discussed, they will boost the in-country local manufacturing, like we said. They will add a lot of new jobs into the economy. They will help the country to reduce imports. They will help us to increase our exports, because we will not just only be sending cocoa and all those crude oil out. We will refine the crude oil here. You can imagine somebody like the foremost black investor globally crying that he doesn't have access to capital, always going out to look for money to fund these projects. The government can say, and some economists are saying that he's wrong. How is he wrong? Somebody who has floated all these companies that is running and employing thousands and thousands of Nigeria is telling you that you need to reduce your interest rate, and you are saying that because the inflation is so high, you cannot reduce your interest rate. The macroeconomic policy upon which you are relying to make those judgments, the data by which you are drawing those conclusions are even faulty. It is only at the micro level that you see that we have sustained this economy, because Nigerians by themselves are a people that are resilient. It is our indomitable spirit that has continued to keep this country running. Even when they predicted the so-called economies that this economy will fall, it will not fall, because the Nigerian man or woman is ready to work hard to do anything to survive. So we need to go to the streets and feel the pulse of the people. And we have investors that are really building companies in this country and saying, reduce the interest rate. There is no way you are going to be able to compete against other economies where people have access to capital at single digits, 5-6% to produce. And you are saying that people should produce here at a 30% interest rate. How can they compete? Their profit is wiped out before they even have a chance to stand. So what we are saying is that the government can adopt a policy, target some industries they want to grow, and ensure that they have access to capital at very low interest rate, ban those goods from coming to Nigeria, and you will see that Nigerians will jump into that place and flood the market with these goods, and will have enough to be able to ship out of this country. That is the only way to prop up the value of the naira. We cannot continue to cry and cry as if we are beggars, cap in hand, going everywhere looking for money. We are Nigerians. We have the best graduates globally. Our people perform, they deliver everywhere else but home. And because they don't perform here because of this prevailing condition. And those of us who are even here today, we don't do activism full time. We are activists, but we are going into the economy to show example by what we do in our profession. We are investing in this economy because we believe in this economy. And that is why SUSO has filled its rank with people who are capable, and we are asking them to come home and invest in this economy. But you cannot keep interest rate at sky high 30% and expect that anybody is going to rush here. We need to make the conditions necessary that will attract investment that will drive this economy forward. We believe that if some of these things are done, it will boost the naira value, it will boost our GDP and stimulate growth in our local economy. The lessons from the NSAS movement, which fell short of its goal, should teach us that if we embark on any mass action and we don't have a destination in mind, we cannot reform Nigeria. We can only reform Nigeria in very positive, increasing, progressive steps, instead of setting out bogus courses that goes to nowhere. So let us all put together as a country, as Nigerians, to ensure that we speak to our government. The government itself that is saying people should not protest, should not go into organizing people to the street to tell people not to protest, and they are sending protesters outside. That is double standards, and it needs to be called out. So those of you that are protesting, all of us are in the same boat. We want the same thing. We are brothers, we are citizens. So SUSO, as a foremost citizenship advocacy group, is saying stand up and speak out. But when you speak out positively. Stand up for your country. Don't stand up for destruction, for anarchy, for carnage. It is not about APC or PDP or Labour or any government or any tribe. It is about Nigeria, and all of us need to stand up for this country and speak out. All of us need to contribute our quota in addressing the social ills that we have in society. We are calling men and women who have like mind to join SUSO in pressing this forward. Ours is to move Nigeria forward. It's our hope that in our own time, we are going to see Nigeria move from where it is today to where all of us desire Nigeria to be. Thank you so much, gentlemen and ladies of the press, for coming to this press conference. We just thought we should put out our position, and like I said, all across the country, our members are going to be involved in the advocacy in trying to help to stabilize the polity at this time. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ajay Gabriel from SUSO TV. So my first question is, as an advocacy group, what is the stand of SUSO initiative concerning the protest, and what's your advice to citizens concerning the protest?
Okay, thank you so much. As I said in my opening remarks, SUSO is a citizenship advocacy group. Our goal is to give a voice to those that are not heard. And so we strongly support that the people should be able to talk to those in government that are governing them and tell them, give them a feedback as to how they are performing in office. But having said that as well, we strongly discourage any person taking up arms against the government because the government has fallen short of the goals that they expect of the government. So people are free to protest. Government should allow people, provide security for people to go and express their views so that government can get a feedback as to how they are doing while in governance. So sending people out to say people should not protest, I think is counterproductive. It should not happen. But we understand also is probably the fears of government that people may resort to anarchy and destruction as we had in the past. That's probably what is fueling that. But the right to protest, the right to be heard, to speak up, is enshrined in our constitution and guaranteed. So we should all find ways to engage each other to build a better society. Perhaps my colleagues here will be able to share some more insights as well.
Okay, once again, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, for coming for this press in briefing. Like my director has said, the visionary and the convener of SUSO Advocacy Group, we support the quest for a better government. We support the fact that the government should listen to its citizens and respond whenever there is need for demand for the city. But why all that is going, as an advocacy group, we will advise that people should look for a better means of negotiating with government rather than going in a wrong way that might lead to anarchy, chaos, and who knows, loss of lives. So as a group, we have the opinion that government should create an avenue to reach out to a citizen, dialogue with them, and work out a reasonable, actionable group that will help to address the issues in question. And as a group, we also believe that government should do more to reduce the youth unemployment, empower the youths, and do all it can to encourage food security. It is a fact that the Nigerian youths are the worst hit by the ills of the society. Therefore, they have the right to protest. But what matters most is the protest, is it going to end well? From experience, we know that it will lead to problems, if possible, loss of life, and that's why we are addressing and proposing that people should resolve this by dialogue and not by violence. And I also believe that my colleague will lend more voice to what I have said so far.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Okuma Ojorumi. I'm representing Gojo Studio, and my first question is, what specific initiative can the government implement to combat poverty and hunger?
So we have talked about some specific program in the course of articulating this. Government has to support local industry and local manufacturing. The first place, like I said, I mentioned the call recently by Alhaji Aliko Dangote, saying that it is inconceivable that we have very, very high interest rate and government is expecting entrepreneurs to set up shops to be able to start companies to employ people. It's not possible because they will not be able to make profits. against foreign competition, opening your borders, making it so porous that all manner of things flood into the country, how will the local producer or the entrepreneur survive? People start business. This is the heart of entrepreneurship in Africa. The average Nigerian man is an entrepreneur or woman. They like to produce because government has not given so much. So everybody has grown to really being their own, they are their own utility company. You are the one, you dig your borehole in order for you to get your water in your home. You treat your water. You provide, you run your generator, and you have to run a power utility company. So an average Nigerian family understands business. So it's for the government to create the enabling environment, create access, cheap access to capital. That is the only way. That's what we're saying. That's how we are going to make sure that we reduce the level of unemployment across the country. You see people coming out of school with ideas, but they do not have where to express them. You see some people that are doing Yahoo and so on and so forth, and the police will be picking all these people up. If there were jobs, many of them will not apply their ideas in the wrong direction. They will find industries that will take them, and they will be able to apply those skills they have. These are problems that are created because of lack. It does not justify the crime, but what we are saying is that we can do a lot more, especially those in public office and that have access to public resources can channel it. There was an analysis recently where some public officers, they take out of graft, they steal a lot of resources and they funnel it through fictitious and bogus contracts to foreign banks. And those people turn around to call us thieves, that the politicians say are thieves. And what happens? Sometimes those politicians die, the money is lost. But the one that they send to those banks, what happens? They turn it around, those banks there lend it to Nigerian banks at 15%, for example. The Nigerian banks will now add about 15%. So this is money that left Nigeria in the first place, stolen. It goes to a foreign bank, the foreign bank lends it back to a Nigerian bank, and the Nigerian bank lets it to the people from which that money is stolen at 30%. How can the person now starts a business? Let's say it's overhead cost for that transaction with everything combined goes to about, say, whatever amount it is. Let's say somebody gets that same loan at 5% in India or in China or wherever these goods are coming from. And we are not saying we should not do business with nations of the world, but those countries will not allow you to come and flood their economy with all kinds of goods. So those goods are coming at 5% or 10%, whatever it is, but you are manufacturing at 30%. It's not rocket science. There is no way, because if you put even 10% margin on your own, and they themselves are coming and they put 20%, they will not even get to your production cost before they make a profit. So that's how we price our people out of the market. It needs to change, and we need bold leadership that there is no nation that has ever developed or evolved that did not protect their own economy. There is protectionism as I speak with you now in Europe. They are tasking companies like Amazon. You see this and they find them huge amount that because they are trying to kill businesses, small businesses in Europe. So they will tax them and make sure that they find them for huge amounts. In the US, they are slamming taxes on Chinese imports. Why do you think they are doing it? Because they want to protect their own local economy. TikTok, even things as basic as TikTok. So what are we saying? If you don't protect your economy, you will fall. You can never stand. So Nigeria has to wake up. Our leaders must wake up, and they must hear it. We don't want to take advice from World Bank or IMF to the detriment of our own government or our own economy or our own people. Only take advice from these bodies when it makes sense for you, because they are governed by the people that are your competing nations that want to. It is in their own best interest to keep you perpetually poor. And nobody should believe otherwise. What we are saying is to engage companies constructively, and that's not saying that you cannot cooperate constructively with Western government or Eastern government, wherever it is, but practice what they practice as well. Don't be working with other people on different aims. They have an aim to stabilize their own economy, to be on top, to continue to sell goods to you. What is the balance of trade between Nigeria and this country? We cannot continue the way we are. We have to protect the economy, and we must commend what we are hearing the government has done in insisting that crude oil should be sold to Dangote refinery and other refinery builders that have modular refinery in Nigeria in naira. Why are we selling? Why is the dollar our medium of exchange in our own country? Sorry, do they use naira in the US? Do they use it in Europe? Why are you using euros and dollars in Nigeria? These are fundamental questions that must be answered. And people think that it is profit. You are running your country down, and it's because we have, in my opinion, spineless leaders that cannot make courageous decisions and decide that if we die, we die. Naira is our currency. You trade in naira in your country. There's no other way. If you want your naira to be strong, then you need to show that you really intend to make the naira strong. Take action. We cannot continue to pay lip service in trying to address the social ills or the economic ills that we have in Nigeria. We need courageous leadership at this time. We need people that can step up, and stand out and say, we will die for this country, we will make the country work so that our children don't have to go through what we are going through today. We don't want to continue to live in fear because of lack, because people don't have access. That is what this is all about. That's why we are saying people should stand up and speak out. But when you stand up and speak out, do not resort to carnage. Do not resort to violence. Do not resort to trying to blame people. You should be part of the solution. Just as we have decided as an organization that everybody that are joining us, they must constructively engage and they must be part of the solution for Nigeria. Maybe comrade here will be able to lend a voice to what we are doing. Young people that are being productive.
Okay, thank you very much, Gojo Studio, for gracing us in this press conference. So basically for me, I feel like one of the initiatives for us to be able to combat hunger and poverty in Nigeria is accelerating the local content. By this I'm saying that when we are making things in Nigeria, we should make use of our locally sourced materials in Nigeria, thereby providing employment for people in local areas and also investments in Nigeria. There are so many people who are interested in building industries, building factories here in Nigeria, but they are discouraged because the government is not even giving them the opportunity to do so. Now, for those who have even advanced to coming down to Nigeria, trying to set up these things, they are being discouraged by high taxes, high interest rates. So these are some of the things that are happening right now that is making poverty and hunger a problem in Nigeria.
All right, thank you very much for the answer to the question. My second question, what are the major challenges and barriers that prevent the country in terms of hunger and poverty?
In terms of eradicating hunger and poverty, there is no country that has succeeded in well, I hear that there are some countries where there are no poor people. I would love to live in that country, but most countries always have to deal with hunger and poverty for some members of their society. And the way to do that is the challenge is across, is balancing the resources that you have with in terms of trying to ensure a system that distributes it. For example, in the West, they have social security system, whereby if you don't have a job, you can apply to the government for you to have some resources from the Commonwealth with which you can live. In developing countries, we don't have those kind of safety net. And so, take for example, the socialized healthcare in places like Europe, like say Britain, for example, that you can go to government hospital insofar as you are a citizen, you are legal. If you fall sick or you have an emergency, it is guaranteed that you'll be taken to the hospital and treated. People will not allow you to die. That's not the case here. Here you are taken to the hospital, they insist that you must drop some money and so on and so forth. And many lives are lost unnecessarily because we don't have such safety net. So to be able to balance things out, to be able to provide and overcome these challenges, there has to be a redistribution system whereby the most vulnerable members of our society are brought into the pool and guaranteed some basic social welfare. But that is going to take some time. It's only when the economy is standing, that is when the government is able to afford that. And that is why as SUSO, we say we are committed to justice, peace, and strong institutions. The strong institution comes in at that point, whereby if we say, for example, now the government is be carrying out palliatives, and the intention is that let us give these critically needed food items to the most vulnerable members of the society. But some people that are supposed to represent this government will go and take those things. Some of you may have seen the video circulating whereby some people have taken that rice that is coming from the government, taking it to some warehouses where they are putting it in bags, removing it from government bags and putting it in other bags in order for them to go and sell it.